big. They're going to come up against us.
Yep.
You know, they're going to start, you know, trying to say they're the bosses. So that's why that happened. But it happened because of prophecy.
That's right. And that Pharaoh, by the way, his daughter was Joseph's wife. And Joseph had 2 sons with that Pharaoh's daughter, Ephraim and Manasseh. Just as a tidbit, as a side note. That's it.
Okay, going back to Genesis 15 and 15. And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age. But in the 4th generation they shall come hither again. For the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. And this is a main clue, because the Amorites were Canaanites. You know, and that land of the Canaanites was the land that the Lord promised. And that was the land that Abram was actually on, you know, when he was having this vision. So it says, and it came, so that 400 years was talking about the 400 years of the affliction in the land of Egypt. It says, and it came to pass that when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp that passed between those pieces. And the same day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, unto thy seed have I given this land from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates. The Kenites and the Kenizzites and the Cadmonites and the Hittites and the Perizzites and the Rephaims and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Girgashites and the Jebusites. So all of those nations right there, which are all Canaanites, were dwelling in that land. And that was the land that the Lord promised. But the problem was that they still had wickedness that they had to do before the Lord can give the land to Israel.
Quick precept for you. The book of Acts 7 and 6. And I believe this was when Stephen was given this account. And at the end, he got stoned and he was put to death. Anyway, this is, he was going through the history. And this is what he said, Acts 7 and 6. And the Most High spake on this wise, that his seeds should sojourn in a strange land, and that they should bring them into bondage and entreat them evil 400 years. All right. And as a matter of fact, indeed, that was a strange land, because even Moses named his son Gershom, which Gershom means Goshem. Name a foreigner or foreign name, because he was born in a foreign land. All right.
Yeah, that's it. So that, you know, that lets you know that 400 years that the Lord spoke of to Abram, or, you know, whose name was later changed to Abraham, which means Abba Raham, which means father of a multitude. That did not happen. That happened in Egypt. That didn't happen in America. That's not talking about it was talking about a future prophecy from the time of Abram, but it wasn't talking about America. You know, just so you know. All right. So the lesson is, you know, Esau is the end of the world. So what's happening right now is that there's prophecies being fulfilled, you know, even as we speak now, to bring a close to this devil's kingdom.
Yeah, I want to just kind of go to the beginning, go to Genesis 25 and 19 and read that.
Okay, 25. All right, so this is the book of Genesis, the 25th chapter, and the 19th verse. It says, and these are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begat Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian of Padanaram. Khan. You know, so this is going back to the origins of Esau, the so-called white man, of where he began. You know, because there's a scripture, I believe it's in the Apocrypha, says, as all things have a beginning, they have an end, if I'm not mistaken. But if I find it, I'll bring it out.
Yeah, this is the title is based upon the scripture. Second Ezra is 6 verse. I'll start at 7. It said, then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of times? or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said unto me, from this whole big movie, you know, it's, what is it, 14,000-year movie, however you want to break it down. It all comes down to Jacob and Esau. And Esau is in the power seat right now. That's you so-called white people. And Jacob are the Israelites that you see on the streets and on YouTube. It says, 8th verse, it says, and he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, and we just read about Abraham in Genesis 15, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So ultimately, when Jacob comes into power, that's when Esau has to go down. Jacob is not in power, so Esau has to be in power. Let's read on.
It says, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian of Padanaram, the sister to Laban, the Syrian. And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife.
Oh, I gotta read this. I would be able to miss if I didn't read this. Jump down to the 20th verse, right? It says, and this is going to be manifested, right? It says 20th verse of the same chapter. It says, and when the world that shall begin to vanish away, what world? Esau's world. For when the world that shall begin to vanish away, Esau's world shall be finished, then will I show these tokens, signs. The books shall be opened before the firmament. Thank you, YouTube. And they shall see all together. The books are open. Because how do we know that the end of Esau is coming? When these books are open before the firmament.
I got a quick precept. 2nd Ezra 9 and 4. I started at 5. For like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest, even so the times also of the highest have plain beginnings and wonders and powerful works and endings and effects and signs. And that's what you see in all these effects and signs taking place. Those are the prophecies being fulfilled. You know? So the Lord said when before he gets here, there's going to be certain things that are going to be taking place on the earth. You know, there's going to be earthquakes in diverse places. There's going to be wars, rumors of wars, uprising of the people, on famines. You know, and you see that all over the earth. It ain't just in America. It's all over the earth. It's all over the planet. You know, situation down in Venezuela. You know, now that UN has been approved to I don't know if it's arrest or detain or beat down, or kill America. There you go. They kill Americans. It's been approved. You know, so everything is. These are all the effects and the signs that the Lord spoke of. You know. All right. So going back to Genesis 25 and 21, and Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife because she was barren, and the Lord was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived, meaning she got pregnant. Excuse me. And the children struggled together within her, because from the moment that those two spirits were near each other, they were fighting. You know, there was a struggle. Why? Because that was good versus evil. That were the two opposing forces that the Lord set up on the planet, to one to represent righteousness and the other one to represent wickedness. It says, and she said, if it be so, why am I thus? So why is this going on in my stomach, in my womb? That's what she said. And she went to inquire of the Lord, and the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb. So there were 2 separate nations. From these 2 children were going to come 2 separate nations. Yes.
Precept for you. Yeah, you mentioned about those 2 spirits fighting against each other. and this goes back to the curse that the Lord put on the Lord put on the serpent, which indeed was Esau back in the garden. This is the book of Genesis 3 and 15. Well, let me start at 14. And the Lord power said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, and this was really Esau, or Esau, the father of the Edomites. The Lord power said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field, and upon thy belly shalt thou go, and thus shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. Now here's the point. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. So there was always that hatred. All right? Thy seed, I will put enmity between thee, all right, which would be Esau, and the woman, which would be Jacob. All right? I'm just looking up the word enmity. The Hebrew word there is ayabah. Ayabah. I'm sorry. Yeah, ayabah. Or ayabha. It says enmity, hostile mind. And that's what Esau has towards Jacob to this very day. Yeah. They have a hostile mind towards us. They'll never really, they weren't built to accept us. And in reality, if we're in our right mind, we're not built to accept them.
There will never be a integration.
So how the hell is that going to change in the kingdom? How's that going to change? The Lord say he don't change. Right. He put that enmity from day one. It's always going to be there. Right. You got it, brother.
Okay. Back in Genesis 25 and 23. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels.
Yeah, remember going back to what was written in Genesis. That's what that was reincarnation, man, done all over again. The Lord said he's going to put enmity between thee. He was talking to the serpent who later came back on the planet Earth as Esau, Edom, with that curse of leprosy, and the woman. The woman represents Israel, in this case, Jacob. The Lord said, I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed, which his seed would later be known as Esau, Edom, the wicked, if you will, and her seed, the seed of Israel. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. Right?
That's right. That's right. And when you go back, I'm gonna read that part again. It says, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. So the Lord said that these children, they were going to pretty much, they were going to be 2 totally different spirits, 2 totally different entities. You know, they were going to be as far as day is from night. You know, as far as righteousness is from wickedness. And then it said that they were going to be separated. That's why they can't be that's what it, no matter what any of these so-called leaders do, they can't integrate that. They can't bring those 2 together, because the Lord set it up to where there was going to be that division. It says, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people. And you see that, you know, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians are physically, spiritually, and mentally stronger than you Edomites, you so-called white people, you know. And then, you know, when you see those strongman competitions, a lot of those guys are jakes. They just look like white boys. And you're gonna be in for a rude awakening when you find out that a lot of those white looking dudes that you thought were crackers are really or Edomites, are really Israelites. You're gonna bug out. It says, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. And that was already set up from the beginning, that Esau was supposed to serve or be a slave to Jacob. So when Jacob, whose name is Yaiqua, which means supplanter, when he supplanted Esau for his birthright and his blessings, it was already set up in the spirit that was going to happen. It says, and when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb, and the first came out red all over like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. Now the reason why he called his name Esau was because when Isaac saw what the son looked like when he came out almost like he was undone, you know. So he called him Aishah or Aishashwa, which the word Aishash means wasted, and the Y at the end of a word is he. So wasted away is he. Why? Because his pigment wasn't as the regular pigment of the people of color. It says, and after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel. And it didn't mention anything about Jacob's color because Jacob came out like a regular person.
Yeah, I got a example to back you up. When because Miriam received that curse, and here's the example here: the book of Numbers 12 and 10. It says, "And the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous." That's what the so-called white man has. He has leprosy of the skin. Miriam became leprous, white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. And Aaron said unto Moses, Alas, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not the sin upon us. And it's fitting that Esau should receive that complexion because he's the man of sin. Yep. Is he not the man of sin? Yes, he is. So the Most High put a covering on that man of sin, man. The Most High put a covering. And Aaron said unto Moses, Alas, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not the sin. So it's a sin to look like the so-called white man, all right? He's supposed to be a hunk. He ain't not in the sight of the Heavenly Father. Alas, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not the sin upon us, wherein we have done foolishly, and wherein we have sinned. And notice he didn't put it on Aaron, but he did put it on Miriam. Let her not be, here's the point, let her not be as one dead. And that's what the so-called white man looks like, as one dead. That's why he ain't got no soul, he ain't got no rhythm, you know. Let her not be as one dead, of whom the flesh is half consumed when he cometh out of his mother's womb. And that's what happened with Esau. That's why when Isaac seen him, he said, Joshua. He said, what the hell happened to his flesh? What happened to his pigment? But he was made that way because he's the man of sin. He's the wicked.
It says,
if you don't believe it, you ain't meant to get it, man. All right. So this word, you know, I was thinking about it this morning. This word is really only for the prophets. The Most High in the past dealt with the prophets. He's dealing with them now. And everybody ain't a prophet, man.
Yeah, and this truth, that's right. This truth here, you know, is not something you go to a seminary school to learn. You know, you get it from the men that the Lord set up before you, and the Lord opens up your mind once that word goes out. And if you are part of the elect, it's going to take root in your spirit, and you're going to learn it and understand it and teach it.
Yeah, when Yahushua was in the temple, he was 12 years old. And he was confounding all those older men. Yeah. They went to learn schools. Right. And Yahushua was confounding them. What seminary school did Joseph and Mary send him to? The spirit is the spirit, because he was a prophet back then. It's all spiritual, man. Right.
The spirit quickeneth. The flesh profiteth nothing. The words I speak unto thee, they are spirit and they are life. That's right. So that, man, we could go on for days with that topic. Yeah. For that same topic. It says, and the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they call his name Esau. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter. That's another clue.
Yeah, red. You so-called white people are not white. You're red. You're different shades of red. You're not an off-white. You're not a beige. You know, you're not a flat white or dirty white. You're red. You're different shades of red, because your skin is translucent. And that blood shows, the red blood that we all have shows forth through your